Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker. The political landscape of America is changing, and socialism is rearing its head in a more profound way than in any other previous time in our history. Conservatism is being redefined, and the Bible, if even referenced, is no longer the foundation upon which America is built. Here to talk about what is going on in America today is Joe Newby of ConservativeFiringLine.com. He's a 10-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps who wrote for Examiner.com. His articles have also appeared at Newsbusters, Spokane Faith and Values, and other sites, and he currently runs the Conservative Firing Line, where he discusses issues important to conservatives. He's the co-author of Banned, How Facebook Enables Militant Islamic Jihad, and appears here on Revealing the Truth on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour. Here to bring us up to date on America Gone Wild is Joe Newby. Joe, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Eric. How's everything going?
Everything is going well. Joe,
Good,
I have
good.
want to dive deep into this because I have a pressing concern. Over the weekend, I read an article that said that it's fairly well clinically proven that Joe Biden is suffering some form of dementia. It is not Lewy body dementia,
Right.
which has a scale and a progression. It's not Alzheimer's dementia, which also has a scale of levels 1 through 7 and can be typed, but it is a form of diminishing mental capacity. And that what's behind all this move on selecting a running mate and why this has been so delayed and has not become quickly acted upon is that the calculation that whoever they put in is going to actually be the next president of the United States, because Joe Biden, during the course of his presidency, will be found to be of diminished mental capacity and will
Right.
be replaced, what is it, the 25th Amendment, which
Right.
calls for the replacement of the commander-in-chief.
Right.
That is a whole slant that takes into consideration a whole lot of other factors, because when we were determining Donald Trump and Mike Pence, we weren't caught up on who he should pick as his running mate, because that was likely going to become the next president.
Right.
I think Mike Pence has a good chance in 4 years of coming onto the national stage and having a campaign and using the 4 years in between, whether or not it's a second presidency or second vice presidency, to build the momentum to be. I think he has the statesmanship. I think he's garnering the experience. The fact that he's now the point man for the weekly conferences. He's now the person who's doing the weekly briefings, is posturing, and I can see the handwriting on the wall. There's nobody in America that leadership-wise, there's not a Devin Nunes, there's nobody who's Marco Rubio. None of them are ready yet to step into this statesman role. But
Right.
he has the look, he has the feel, he has the soundness, he has the experience, and these 4 years have certainly done him a lot of good when it comes to political currency. I think
Right.
it's done him a lot of good because he has not been in the fray. He has not been targeted. He has not been attacked. So,
Well, actually, he has, but primarily because of his Christian faith.
right.
He has been viciously attacked for that by the radical left, by media-sponsored and sanctioned hate mongers like Joy Behar. Um, but yes, he has been attacked. But I firmly agree with you, though, Eric. Uh, I think Mike Pence has done an excellent job, and I think he is definitely in a spot where 4 years from now he could very easily be the GOP nominee for the White House. I firmly agree with that.
So going back to my premise and kind of leading in that way, in looking at a Biden running mate, uh, you get feeds from all over. That's part of what we look to the conservative firing line as being our you're kind of our investigative blog journalist that if we were to have an investigative journalism arm, you're it.
Well, thank you.
And we look to you because you get the feeds, you get the stories, you get the intertrack, you have the reporters to go out and dig up and to do the research and to harvest all of that. Um, how strong a point do you think that is in consideration of a running mate for Joe Biden, that they be someone who is fully vetted to become the next president of the United States?
Well, as far as fully vetted, I don't think they ever will be. At least not by the media.
No.
The media has become nothing more, Eric, but than the willing propagandist arm of the Democrat Party, and they don't even hide it anymore. There, they are truthful about nothing. They don't care about the truth. They will put forward any lie, any conspiracy theory, and they simply will not bother to look into it, to counteract it, or to even investigate its veracity. We saw that here just recently with James Clyburn. Um, the media is not going to vet anyone. Let's be clear about that. Whatever vetting is going to be done, Eric, is going to be done by the Republican Party, Patriots in America, blogs like ours, Gateway Pundit, others within my network like Liberty Unyielding, Jeff Dunnett's over at the Lid, and so forth. This is where the actual vetting is going to take place. Um, because the mainstream media, and to an extent that includes, sadly, Fox News. Fox News has become, in many ways, decidedly left wing, with a few exceptions. Tucker Carlson, for example, and Sean Hannity, Judge Janine, Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin. I mean, these are just a few examples. But as far as the news operations, I think Fox News is certainly turning left, um, especially if you take a look at Chris Wallace with his recent interview of Donald Trump. Now, I will give Chris Wallace some kudos. He did try to get Joe Biden on. Joe Biden won't speak to Chris Wallace, and Chris Wallace has made note of that. So I give him kudos there. But whatever vetting that is going to be done, Eric, it's going to be done by you, me, and folks within our orbit, folks who do what we do as far as putting out the conservative message. You're absolutely right. Joe Biden's BP running mate is going to tell us an awful lot. I have heard that he may be considering this Karen Bass, who has a whole lot of baggage of her own, not to mention her love of communism and communist Cuba. Um, then I have heard Susan Rice. I've heard that name being thrown around a lot. As viewers know, Susan Rice is most famous, I think, or infamous, depending on your point of view, for her lying about what happened at Benghazi and her willingness to lie for the Obama regime in front of millions and millions of Americans after she went on to a number of Sunday morning talk shows. Um, I have also heard the name Michelle Obama thrown around a bit. And to be quite honest, I cannot think of anything more frightening for America than a Vice President Michelle Obama, because of course she will have Barack right there with her, and the real decisions um, won't be made by Joe Biden. The real decisions won't be made by Michelle Obama. They will be made by Barack. Barack will be the man, like in the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the screen pulling the strings. It'll be Barack Hussein Obama, and which of course means George Soros and who knows who else. So yes, we need to take a look at who Joe Biden is going to pick as his VP running mate. He had told us that he was going to make that decision on August 1st. That never happened. Now I'm hearing August 7th. Who knows if that's going to happen or not? But you're absolutely right. Joe Biden is in no shape to run the country. He's in no shape to be president of the United States. Um, in fact, there's a move now within the Democrat Party to keep Biden from debating Donald Trump, and of course they're putting out the line they're using is that, well, Trump will lie so much that Biden will have to constantly fact check him. But the fact is, Eric, they are scared. They're scared witless. They know that Joe Biden cannot possibly stand up to Donald Trump. Donald Trump would make mincemeat out of him in a debate. They know it. America knows it, and so they're trying to keep him from embarrassing himself any more than is possible, any more than he possibly can. So now the push is to keep Biden from debating Donald Trump, and if that happens, if for whatever reason it happens that there is no debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, we'll know the fix is in.
The whole thing is scary. Um, what country of 350 million people dealing with COVID-19, with a virus that the CDC, which is supposed to be our front line, missed? Uh, we have this connection to Wuhan, China. We know it's a weaponized version. People are blaming Donald Trump for the COVID-19 virus.
Right, because the media has told them to. You have to understand, Eric, the media right now is engaged in a deliberate, and I mean this exactly as I'm saying it. They are engaged in a deliberate campaign of lies, propaganda, and misinformation. The media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, Washington Post. Washington Times is more conservative. The Washington Post, the New York Times, LA Times, all of these outlets, I think, right now are engaged in a deliberate campaign of lies, propaganda, and misinformation, and they frankly do not care about the truth. They really don't. This is why trust in the media has gone down in the tank. Um, like I said, this has even affected Fox News somewhat. So I wouldn't, when when you hear people say they blame Donald Trump, then that right there tells you that this is a person who gets all their information from CNN or MSNBC, which means that in reality they are uninformed. Sadly, they're sadly uninformed. So
So how do
It's going to be.
yeah how do we counter this? Because we're talking about hundreds of millions of people. We're
Mhm,
talking
mhm.
about agendas of the AOCs and the Ilhan Omars who are looking at trillions of dollars in green energy, the complete change of the healthcare landscape, the complete change of the political landscape, the complete change of the educational landscape. Everything, all the walls come tumbling down, and we become a socialist country. Uh, there's not a lot of bounce back
No,
from that. The Soviet Union has not recovered, and the independent states that came out of the Soviet Union have not recovered from
no.
communism and socialism. And how can anybody possibly believe that this quote unquote redistribution of wealth is anything? If you're on the lower end of the spectrum, sure, give me all you can. This has
Right,
been my mantra of social welfare since it was introduced.
right,
But to the average American, and the part that's scary to me is that if you are vocal about the American way, you are physically under attack. You are being burnt
right,
out. You are being Molotov cocktailed. Your business is being firebombed. Your family is being threatened. Your city is being taken over. There's blocks of your city that you cannot enter. This is worse than anything we expected with Sharia law. And we're seeing it, what's being backed by George Soros and
mhm.
other people who are taking this, and the expose is not being done, that these people are being paid to do
Right,
this as part of advancing an agenda that's straight out of the Marxist handbook.
right, right. And it's not just George Soros behind it. The Democrat Party supports this. Hence the move to defund police. You have the media, which is behind this. Hence their constant propaganda and lies. And I think what needs to happen is the American people simply have got to start standing up to these individuals. When they see this stuff, they need to push back against media narrative. You can do that online. Um, then we also have the what I call the Silicon Valley axis of evil, which constitutes Twitter, Facebook, Google, what have you. These outlets, which are uh, deliberately censoring or squelching one point of view over another. They've been caught at it time and time and time and time again. People just simply need to get more active. They have got to start pressuring the Republican members of Congress and the Senate to get off their tails, to get off their duffs, and do their job, or face losing losing the next election. They're going to have to hold these media outlets accountable and let them know flat out that they're not only going to quit watching them, but they're going to start boycotting sponsors. If you read Newsbusters every day like I do, Eric, you'll find that at the bottom of their articles, what they've been doing lately is they've been putting down, especially when there's something outrageous being done by MSNBC or CNN, which happens every day. Um, at the bottom of the article about that, they will tell you who is sponsoring or who sponsored that particular segment. And people can then take action on their own and go let those companies know that they don't appreciate the kind of thing that they are actually sponsoring, that they're paying for. Like this segment the other day with James Clyburn, telling CNN State of the Union that Donald Trump is Mussolini to Putin's Hitler, and spreading the conspiracy theory, which we're hearing more of now, the conspiracy theory that Donald Trump won't leave office if he doesn't win. And there is not a single shred of evidence to suggest that's true, Eric, but we're hearing this over and over and over again. And these media propagandists don't even bother to push back. I mean, if it were me and I was interviewing James Clyburn like this, and when he comes out, or if any of these people would come out and say, well, Donald Trump's not going to leave office, my first response, Eric, whether it would be on air or on a telephone, would be to ask them, wait a minute, what's your basis for saying this? Huh? Why are you saying? Is this just something that you just pulled out of a particular part of your anatomy, or do you have some actual, proof that this is the case? But you never hear that with MSNBC or CNN or with any of these other outlets. They just accept whatever the Democrat says as gospel, and they either laugh it up, laugh it off, cheer it on, or just simply move on without even bothering to follow up. So it's got to be a multi-faceted attack, if you will, Eric. Because we are facing we are facing a very coordinated enemy, and I hate to use that particular word, but I've come to the conclusion, Eric, that Donald Trump is right in one respect. A lot of these media outlets really are the enemy of the American people, and they are working on behalf of a corrupt and socialist Democrat Party, which is working to do everything it can to destroy America, no matter what. And all of this is being done out of hatred for Donald Trump. That's all it is. That's all it is. They hate America. They hate you. They hate Donald Trump, and they will destroy America to bring Donald Trump down. It's that simple.
What I don't understand is the end game. All right, so you would defeat Donald Trump. You can defeat Donald Trump a couple of ways. You can come up with better economic policies. You can come up with better immigration policies. You can come up with a better health care policy. You can come up with better jobs and better infrastructure policy. You can hit Donald Trump directly where Donald Trump has been distracted with tweets and distracted with other issues, right, that he's been distracted by the media. You can come up with a platform that is so rock solid, so lean, clean, and directed to not a radical shift, but the purpose of, and you and I know that to win the war, you have to win battles along the way.
Right.
You don't win the war the first day. So if the
Right.
Democrats really wanted to come into power and unseat Donald Trump, they would meet him partially along the way with a platform that directly, not opposed, but directly dovetailed off of his and addressed. Says, right, we're going to get the highways and the bridges repaired this way with these funds, and here's how we're going to do it. We're doing it through bond issues. Since the the interest rate's zero, we're going to put these out at 1.5% bonds, 2% bonds, nothing bonds. Okay, no big and have people buy bonds to fund the infrastructure. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Okay, bring the jobs home. Okay, Caterpillar start making more paver machines. McPherson start making more paver machines. Pipe companies start making more pipe. Cement companies make more cement. Okay, great. You start moving us towards that. Then you get Democratic control of the House. You get Democratic control of the Senate. Then, second term, after you've completed this and you've won some trust, okay, second term, supposedly lame duck. Now you start putting in your socialistic programs. Now you start easing in. Now everybody trusts you. You've got the vote. You can get things passed. Let's look at government logically, the way you and I did in college, in political science, as to how to change, effectively change. You don't do it radically. Radical change does not work. You do it subversively, and you do it in small moves that people can't detect as small moves.
And this is what the left has been doing for the last 100 years or more. But what's happened, though, Eric, and you're right about one thing. They have gone, the Democrat platform has abandoned all of that. The Democrat platform is so radical that now you have Democrats, Bernie Sanders and AOC and Ilhan Omar, they're bragging as what they see as being the most progressive potentially the most progressive president in U.S. history. They're saying Biden will be more progressive than FDR, more, even further to the left than Woodrow Wilson or FDR. You look at their platform, Eric. It's racist. It basically says that white people are evil. Um, I mean, it is so radical that the only people who would like it would be radical communists or leftists. You asked about their end game. What's their end game? Their end game, one word, is control. They want to destroy America. They want control of America. They want control of every aspect of our daily lives. And basically, what they want to do is turn the United States into Cuba, Venezuela, or the Soviet Union. That is their end game. That's their goal. That's what they want. And if Joe Biden gets elected, that's what we'll get.
Joey, it makes me want to sell my home, cash out everything I have, and move in with you in Idaho, all right, and get up in the middle of the night and work the call center at the bank alongside of you, and join you in conservative firing line, and hunt for elk and moose, and live out in the back, off the grid, and survive, past my 70th birthday and live out my life. And when they find the ravens picking at my bones in the field, well, then you know that I'm gone. This is taking a person who's a first generation American, who is proud of the nation that my family came to, that my father came here. He wasn't here but a short time, and he enlisted in the United States Army and said, I'm now a citizen of this country. I'll fight for this country. My grandfather in 1904 came to America when he was old enough to enlist, and lie about his age. At age 16, he joined the United States Navy and lied so he could go back and fight Russia. This was the American way. But this idea that we're going to turn this into a communist nation, I can't imagine, especially with the number of people who were from the post-Holocaust generation, who lived through World War II, who saw what happened to Japan, who saw what happened to China, who saw what happened to Laos, to Cambodia, to Thailand, to Cuba, to how they could possibly want any of that here. Canada doesn't want what Canada has. Right? Why would we want that here?
Well, we don't. Okay. Rational thinking patriots don't want any of this, but Democrats do. And this is, I think we have to get into this mode from now on, um, with very, very few exceptions. There's a fellow down in Georgia by the name of Vernon Jones. He's a Democrat, he's a patriot, and he makes sense. Um, but and there's a few like him, okay, and we need to encourage them. We need to stand up with them and encourage them to take over the reins of their party, because right now the Democrat Party, by and large, is a socialist, communist, Marxist, call it whatever you want, fascist. I mean, it's an organization that seeks one thing, and that's control. Control at any cost. And so what if you lose your constitutional rights? So what if you lose your job? So what if the economy goes in the tank? None of that matters. The only thing that matters to the radical Democrat Party is getting Trump. That's all that matters. And getting power, they want that too. So they're going to say anything, do anything, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how outrageous it is. That's their goal. That's what they want to do.
We're talking with Joe Newby of conservativefiringline.com, as we do on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour, when we talk about America Gone Wild and the politics and the media and what's happening with terrorism, education, and this narrative that seems to be taking a generation, and that generation makes up a good portion of the voting population, and they are mobilizers, and they will get the vote out, and it is tenuous at best right now for any Republican or conservative to think that it is a shoo-in that Donald Trump is going to win in November, and we have, 93 days left until the election. That's not very long until the election, and there's not much happening positive towards re-establishing Donald Trump as the voice of reason. And the more they attack him, the more he tweets, the crazier he sounds, which is not serving him well, and continues to demonstrate his lack of willingness to submit to people who are campaign sensitive. It seems that he too has lost a little bit of his focus on his goal should be to win the election. You can then tweet for 4 more years, unlimited, all you want, but give it a rest for 90 days, lose the battle, win the war, and people can't get him to shut up on Twitter, and it is something that continues to open doors of accusation against him. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back from break, we're going to continue in this discussion about America Gone Wild. We're going to talk a little bit about terrorism, about what's going on in the terrorist field, because there is Christian persecution that is terrorism. There are churches that are being burned. There are people who are having their First Amendment rights violated, and that is an act of terrorism in this country. It is an act of discrimination, and it is depriving American citizens of their rights, and it is a violation of the Constitution for a state to sue a church for meeting, but yet the state-run liquor store is left open because that generates revenue for the state. And they're trying to legislate assembly, and the right of assembly is something that the Constitution grants that the state does not have right over. So we're going to talk about that when we return from break, and we will be right back. Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and my special featured guests twice per month with Rabbi Zeb Parat and Carl Gallups, and monthly with Dr. Michael Heiser, Dr. Michael Lake, Dr. Timothy Jennings, Dr. Mark Baker, Dr. Jeffrey Johnson, Drs. Michelle and Mark Sherwood, Dr. Kim Moss, Derek Gilbert, Peter Rosenberger, Brandon Gallups, Steve Fair, Stephen Black, and Sean Tabbitt for in-depth insights into Israel, prophecy, the unseen realm, the brain, spiritual warfare, overcoming shame, mysteries of the Bible, prophetic insights, the sensational and the supernatural, caregiving, addiction recovery, understanding the divided heart, same-sex attraction, and much more. We're proud to feature some of the greatest biblical minds from both Israel and around the United States. Check out our featured guest lineup and 24/7 feed on ignitinganation.com or watch by topic on any device with our free apps. If you can't find what you need, you're just not looking in the right place. Follow us on social media and download our free apps today.
With today's smartphone technology, news, information, sports, and entertainment is widely available and almost unbounded. But what about the information that believers in Yeshua are looking for? Well, now there's an app for that. Igniting a Nation now has apps available for Android and iPhone. With our app, you'll gain access to everything you would in our website, from our featured guests to our live streaming shows. Visit Google Play or the Apple Store and download Igniting a Nation's new app today.
Shalom. I'm Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, inviting you to join me and Israel's #1 rated guide, Edo Canaan, for our annual Israel trip. Our 2022 trip is now open for registration for our 18th trip to Israel. Our trip will take us from Tel Aviv to the Galilee, down to the Dead Sea, and 4 nights in Jerusalem. You will walk where Yeshua walked and watch the Bible turn from black and white to living color. Visit ignitinganation.com/events and download the registration form today. No, it's not too early to take advantage of our payment plan designed to fit any budget. All of our trips sell out, and we want you to experience this life-changing journey. Registration is now open for April 2nd to 13th, 2022, and we promise you, you will never read your Bible the same way again. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, and as we do on the first Monday of every month at the 12 o'clock hour, we join Joe Newby of the Conservative Firing Line. You can find him at conservativefiringline.com, where we talk about America gone wild and how conservatism is under fire in America. Joe, welcome back.
Good to be here, Eric.
Joe, this alliance that's been formed between Schumer and Pelosi and their cabal has brought America to a position where we are virtually in a lame duck congressional session. The only bill which is being debated is the bailout for the next stage of COVID-19. And I don't even know if that's going to pass prior to the election. Nothing really effective. And there was a point where I thought, if we can focus on all this junk, we can actually get a whole lot of stuff done.
Right.
Behind the scenes. But it's turned into an executive order frenzy, which the executive orders are not impactful enough to alter reality. They're only the boy in the dike. And they're all things which can be undone within the first hour of a new presidency.
Right.
So that was part of Donald Trump's running for election, was in the sweep of a pen, I'm going to undo everything Barack Obama did. Well, he's just given the new line to the new platform and the new regime that may be coming in. With the sweep of a pen, we can undo all of this stuff. We can reverse all of this order and all these things.
Well, that assumes Donald Trump loses, and I'm not quite ready to go there yet.
Right. In reality, as an odds maker, what are the odds you're giving Trump re-election?
At this point, I'm thinking personally, I'm thinking better than 50-50, quite frankly. I think it's way too early to tell. Um, we're seeing the same thing this time around that we saw in 2016, except that Donald Trump's poll numbers are much higher than, or not much higher, but they are higher than Barack Obama's was at this point in his presidency. Um, we're also seeing the most radical, extreme Democrat Party that America has ever seen in our lifetimes. Uh, the Democrat Party today, with very, very few exceptions, and there are some exceptions, very notable ones, but there are some exceptions. But the Democrat Party, by and large, is quite literally nothing more than the reincarnation of the Communist Party that ran the Soviet Union into the ground for 70 years. That is today's Democrat Party, by and large. We see that with AOC, with Nancy Pelosi, with Chuck Schumer. You talk about things not getting done. The reason things aren't getting done is because the Democrats don't want anything to get done, because they don't want it to seem as though Donald Trump is actually accomplishing anything. But the fact remains is that Donald Trump he's followed through with all of his promises, Eric. He's followed through with every single one of them. What other president can say that?
None.
Right. And look at what has happened to this economy under Donald Trump. Before we had this virus, this act of God come along and destroy the economy, Donald Trump, the unemployment rate for blacks and Hispanics were at historic lows under Donald Trump. So I think Donald Trump stands a much better chance than some people are willing to give him. I really do. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing a media that is, like I've said before, nothing more than a propaganda machine, working to push the Democrat Party, willing to lie, willing to say or do anything to make that happen. We have a Democrat Party itself that is willing to lie, willing to push false narratives. They have even been willing, they've spent the last, 3.5 years engaging in what amounts to a coup d'etat against a sitting American president. So, personally, I'm surprised that Donald Trump's numbers aren't lower than they really are. When you consider the never-ending onslaught by the media and social media and the Democrat Party, I'm surprised his numbers aren't lower than they are. But I think really do believe that Americans have woken up. They are seeing who the real enemies are in this country, and yes, they are the enemy. There is no other way to describe them. There's no other word that can be used to describe what they are. They are the enemies of this country. And I'm talking about the Democrat Party. I'm talking about the so-called mainstream media, the CNNs, MSNBC, Washington Post, so on and so forth. And I'm talking about social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of these outfits. So I think Donald Trump actually stands a much better chance than a lot of people realize, because I think Americans are waking up to what's going on. I just hope that enough of them wake up enough before the election. That's my hope.
What can we do? You and I, people like ourselves, what can we do on the local basis, on the media basis, to get the word out to say simply this: a vote against Donald Trump is a vote for socialism.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing came down to anybody but Trump. We hate Trump so much we'll put anybody in. But I don't think anybody really realizes what socialism means. And they have this romantic idea that socialism is the answer to everything. You see Bernie Sanders in locked arm with Joe Biden, as if Joe Biden is now buying into Bernie Sanders' dementia. Whoever comes alongside, whatever minority female that they choose, is going to advance that agenda. And the collapse of America is something that every one of our foreign enemies is wringing their hands over delight of watching this happen, because the value of the dollar is going to tank. The picture that I see is shopping carts full of dollar bills. How can we be a country that puts out 10 billion dimes a day and you can't find change in America?
Yeah. I would say the first thing people...
Who sucked up all the change?
That's a good question. I would say the first thing that people need to do, Eric, I don't want to seem like I'm being what's a correct phrase, tooting my own horn, but I'm going to anyway, if you don't mind. I would say the first thing people need to do, Eric, is they need to tune into your program and listen to what you have to say and share your videos. And then I'd say the next thing they need to do is go to conservativefiringline.com and check us out on Facebook and Twitter and so forth, and share our posts as well. But don't stop there. I would say people need to reject the mainstream media. Just reject them. The mainstream media cannot be trusted. It is not a trustworthy organization at all. That yes, there are a few within the media that are still somewhat okay, but by and large, the mainstream media is nothing more than the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party, and it needs to be soundly rejected. Number one, because it is shown, as demonstrated, that it cannot be trusted, it cannot be believed, and all it is going to do is spew lies, hate, and propaganda. That's the first thing. Those are the first steps I think people need to take. The second thing I think is to not just focus on Donald Trump. Yes, support Donald Trump because let's face it, either he or Joe Biden will win the election in November. It has to be Donald Trump. Joe Biden, we've seen what the Democrats want. It is not good. America will be, our economy will be destroyed. Americans will be left unsafe in a Biden America. And there is no way that we can allow that to happen. But it's not just that, Eric. People need to take a look down ballot. Who is running for Congress? Who is running for the Senate? Who is running all the way up and down the line, Eric? Who's running to be the state, their state representative?
Right.
Who is running to be the dog catcher for the community? Who's running for mayor? Who's running for city council? All the way up and down the line, Eric. Every single one of these elections are important because politics is, as I think it was Tip O'Neill said, is local, and this has to be done. It has to be a sweep up and down the line. It won't do us any good to elect Donald Trump, but to forget about the House, the Senate, and all of the other races that are being decided on that particular day. The Democrat Party, Eric, has proven itself to be, in my opinion, the most destructive force in America today. The Democrat Party needs to be defeated soundly. In 1975, Eric, I mean, let me just say something here. In 1975, I took an oath to protect, defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Today, I'm here to tell you that I believe that the Democrat Party and the entities that are supporting it, namely the so-called mainstream media and what I call the Silicon Valley axis of evil, Facebook, Twitter, Google, what have you, I believe those are the greatest threats that America faces today. They are not external threats, they are internal threats. And I took an oath to defend this country, defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I believe the Democrat Party and its allies are the greatest domestic enemy this country faces today.
Amen.
I can't defeat it by myself, neither can you. Neither can any single individual American, not even Donald Trump. It's going to take all of us to do it. And if we all come together, put our differences aside, we can teach this Democrat Party and its allies a lesson it will never, ever forget. That you do not mess with the American people. You do not mess with our freedom. You do not mess with our Constitution. And you do not mess with our economy. If you do, you will pay a price. And I think we need to pay these people a very heavy price in November. Failure to do so, Eric, will be catastrophic. There's just no other way to put it.
Amen. Amen. We've been talking with Joe Newby, host of the Conservative Firing Line. You can find more about him at conservativefiringline.com. You can catch the replay of this on our YouTube channel. You can watch him live on Amazon Fire, Roku, Apple TV, and Android TV on the first Monday of every month in the 12 o'clock hour. And catch him and subscribe to the conservativefiringline.com. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.